So we're soon going to go into executive session, but before we do that, I am going to read a statement that Counselor Surratt has asked me to share with you and with the public. City Councilor Claire Surratt is currently undergoing medical treatment that prevents her from attending city council meetings in person. Over the next couple of months, she will phone into meetings and keep up via email as she is able. She asked for people to understand and respect her privacy during this time, that she is focused on her health. So that's the official statement, and I know we all are thinking about her and hoping for a rapid recovery. All right, so now I'm going to, the Eugene City Council will now meet in executive session to review and evaluate the performance of an employee. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192-6602I. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. Let me know when we're regular work session. We'll wait for the knock. Oh, you knocked.
That's fast.
Okay, so we're back in session, and we are working on the evaluation of police auditor, independent police auditor, and I'll go back to our.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We're here for the 2016 evaluation session for Police Auditor Gissner. We did collect feedback from community members, city staff that Auditor Gissner has worked with over the past year, as well as feedback from the Citizen Review Board, and that has been provided for you all. So I'll turn it back over to you.
So can you do, are you prepared to do sort of a general review of what you received, so the public knows?
I was not prepared to do that, but
Okay.
I could.
Well, if you're not comfortable, we can talk about it around the table, that's fine. What I will do is, Mark, you can start if you want by making some comments if you would like to.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Again, it's a blessing to be here. I appreciate the issues about transparency and public records, and Oregon is, it seems as if Oregon government at all levels have this trust us, but I think as a public that more could be done. There were a couple of things that were important to me in terms of moving forward. The first thing was that I would like consideration of a minor modification to the ordinance. The ordinance right now requires that the auditor's office shall return all case file materials to internal affairs for retention, but shall have subsequent access to closed cases. I'm guessing when that was all conceptualized, although it was 2006, 2007, I think we had servers and backup files and things like that. So it seems to me that given the technology of today, that we ought to be able to maintain on our servers these records. I think it does add another element of the transparency issue. We haven't been speedy in terms of deleting things off the hard drive. Sort of kind of had an issue with that in the past, that was alleged, not true, but alleged. And Internal Affairs also has their own case files and their retention, but I don't see a problem with maintaining the investigative files that we use in any particular case within our server system as well. And in a way, it also provides protection, I think, to just in case their server, something might happen, that there is that duplication, because that's all it is. And that would be something that I would ask a modification for on the ordinance. The other thing that there's a couple things that we're dealing with it are consuming it a lot of time, and I think there are probably solutions for it, but we're sort of caught in the middle of these respectful workplace issues. Employees come to us with what is normally considered a human resources issue in most places, but there are probably structural improvements that could be made within the city so that we're not involved in those. I mean, they trust us and come to us, and we feel an obligation to follow through, but I'm certain it was not what was envisioned when the ordinance was first created, or when the discussions about oversight were involved. But because of some areas of structural improvement that occur, I think that we should not be involved in those particular issues. But if an employee comes to us there's not a clear path for an employee to take, at least in the Eugene Police Department, if they have issues about respectful work environments, whether that's sexual harassment or hostile work environment. There's not a clear path, and there's not a point person of trust that they can go to. So what do? Maybe they come to my office, maybe they talk to their supervisors, but I would like to see a clearer path for employees to follow. The second issue that is consuming an awful lot of our time is the whole issue of response time by officers. Officer shows up 6 hours later after an aggravated burglary in which someone's home is broken into, and the person is still very upset. If you've ever had your home broken into, I think you recognize the psychological impact of that. And so an officer or a dispatcher will say, well, you know, I'm sorry, but you can call the auditor's office. And there's this expectation, and I know it's out there on Facebook too, there's this expectation that I have the ability to solve that problem. I don't have the mandate, I might have some ideas, and so, but it consumes a lot of time, and people are angry, and even after a supervisor explains it to them, they're still angry. The culture of our nation is if you call the police, they will come in a reasonable amount of time, and in particular when their personal space is invaded, for example. And I know that there's a heavy workload and things like that, but and then other times it's just a customer service issue. If the person who, either the officer or someone in dispatch or a supervisor spends a few extra minutes, sometimes that helps iron things out, but it's consuming a lot of time. And again, I don't think that that was the vision at the time, that we would be that sounding board for people who are frustrated about response time. And I have the solution for that. I don't have the solution for that. I'm not the person who sets policy about how calls are prioritized. I'm not the one who sets the manpower and the street strength issues. I don't do any of that. But that's the expectation. And that's where we're getting the most negative feedback, actually, is that an officer or someone will say, well, call the auditor's office, as if I have a solution for why officers didn't respond for 6 hours or didn't take fingerprints or didn't arrest someone. And that's really been a difficult situation for us and very time consuming. And the respectful workplace issues have been very time consuming. And again, I don't think that was the vision, because we found macro solutions to force and search and seizure and even the supervision issues and high-speed chase issues. We found macro solutions for those. Now we're being asked to find micro solutions for the response time issues and the service issues, and I don't have the tools for those solutions. So, you know, we try to be a constant in a sea of variables, and you know, these are variables that we don't have any control over, and so if there are going to be some consideration over that, that would be helpful for us.
What I'm going to do is go around the table, and you all can make your comments, and then with the aim that we are actually supposed to go to another subject in about 15 minutes or so. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Mark, I appreciate your work. I appreciate what you've just mentioned as some opportunity for growth in the system. I will say that I believe and have since you began that we're a very fortunate community to have your service in this role. I believe that your long years of experience at this give us access to what would be bigger city resources, is the way I would define it, at how we both address those things that adequately and will fulfill the auditor's function in our charter, but also that help make our police department better. And I think, that the things that you've just mentioned, along with those policy issues we've dealt with at the Police Commission, and from your recommendations, show that the level of service you're capable of giving in this role is a little bit extra. And in my opinion, you continue to do an excellent job. So thank you.
George?
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I agree with that, Mark. I think the office is really well run. It's a tight crew over there. It's run very efficiently and very competently, high level of competence. And I think that, adding the community outreach worker, bilingual, that will really help. And by the way, have you noticed, I know she's only been there a little while, but have you noticed any upticks in customer satisfaction?
Well, we've
Hired?
And even before we hired Beatrice, we've reached out a lot last year, working with the Immigration Network and some other places like that. So she's, as I stated before, we're modeling after San Jose, and so there is a learning curve for her about what we do. But yes, we're getting groups now that are interested in hearing some of the things, and she's working on posters and some other advertisements and flyers to get the word out. So I know we had that little summer slowdown so then we had the opportunity. So now as fall starts up and meetings start up again, then yeah, I think we're going to be going to a lot more meetings and things. Short term, are we going to have a cultural impact on people feeling comfortable complaining about any government entity if they're from another country or even first generation? I think that's a longer term goal. I'm very pleased to have her, and I know that she'll do great work, and it helps our office because yes, I'm blessed with a great staff.
Right. Yeah, I know that many countries in Latin America, you do not go complain about anything. Certainly not about police to anyone. You just don't do that. You're going to get yourself in trouble. It's not that way here, but yet that is a culture that some of the people come from, and so I think you're right. It'll take a while to overcome any hesitancy that people might have. I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
George?
Yeah, Mark, I don't think I can add to any my comments would not add any more than what Mike and George have already said. I think you're doing an exceptionally good job. Your staff is doing a good job. And I think it's accomplishing what the ordinance set out to do. And we are a very lucky community to have you in the position that you're in and that you were able to hire the quality, the caliber of employees that you've got working for you. Well done. Well done.
Greg?
Thanks, Mayor. First of all, my apologies to council. I did do my homework. The dog did not swallow it, but the computer did. So I don't know if you, Carrie, you got my comments right. So you got my evaluation there. So that was some technical difficulties. But other than that, serving in the role with Alan and meeting with you as council officers, over the last 9 months or so has been really a pleasure. I want to note that, when we have noted that there are improvements that we'd like to see in terms of communications and community outreach, that you have been extremely responsive, Mark. And so I think, thumbs up to you on, all of the areas that, we evaluate you on. You've done an excellent job. And you've been extremely responsive when we have pointed out issues that have been important to council and important to the community for you to address. And so with that, I say keep doing what you're doing. You're doing excellent work. The office is operating the way it was designed to operate. And just going back to a little history around this, I remember when when police auditor issue came up and the community voted on it and voted it in because we did have issues with police conduct in this community. And so, from my perspective, are we perfect? No. But we are, very much, ahead of the curve with a lot of communities, a lot of cities who don't have this system in place, don't have your office activated. And, you serve as a model for what other people around the country should be doing in terms of police oversight and community connections and contact and transparency. So with that, I'll just pass it over to my colleague, Councilor Zelenka.
Yeah, thanks. Mark, you're doing an excellent job as a police auditor. I hope you retire here in about 5 years. And you have my full confidence in the work that you're doing as the police auditor. You keep the office and the CRB running smoothly and equally as important, non-controversially. I think I have a unique perspective in that Mike and I were your first steering committee as council officers and now come full circle around, and now with Greg as the vice chair of the council, I'm back. And it's interesting to note that the maturity of the organization and you as an auditor that has occurred over those years, and as well as the non-controversial nature of the work that you do, the community respect that you do, and also the impact of your office is quite high. So I think that's interesting to see that full circle, and it speaks well to the work that you've done. I do think it serves as a model for other folks. Not very many communities have them. One in particular that now has locally that has a police department is the University of Oregon. And I know the new police chief actually came from a place that had an oversight function, and I'd hope that they would look seriously at providing that in our community. That part of our community is the only part that doesn't have that oversight with that police department. Of course, it has to be a separate model because it has its own governing structure, but I think they could do well to pick your brain about how to do it well. I think you've also had a very positive impact on police policy, in particular use of force and high-speed pursuits. The policies, you've had a big impact. Many people have, but it's changed the way that those things are done for the better. I think it's great that you hired a new community outreach person. I think that you've done a good job on the outreach. This will just add more, and of course you can always do more in that regard. I think that's a task that needs to keep growing and keep doing. If it's the only place I think that you need to focus your attention and work on, I think the rest of it works very smoothly. So keep up what you're doing and try to do more of that. I think you've assembled an excellent staff and a very competent staff, and I think that they do a very good job, and I think that also speaks highly of your management capabilities and the way that you run the office. So good job. Thanks for doing it well.
Chris.
Thank you. I gave you an excellent rating because I think you continue to provide excellent service in the auditor's function. 3 areas that I would zero in specifically on in your role and who you are. One is maintaining the confidence and integrity of the auditor's office, and I think that's extremely important because people believe in the auditor's office because they believe it has integrity. It's not in anyone's pocket, and it's not biased or doing work based on less than the finest principles. The second one is transparency. People look to the auditor's office to provide them with understanding of what's going on. And for many people, they see you as the only source of knowledge and information about what's happening. And so you're struck with having to find that fine balance between knowing nothing and knowing everything. And I think you're working very hard to try to maintain that, even within the confines of what both state law and collective bargaining allow. And I think you're working very hard to try to do that. But you're not trying to do it in a way where you allow your personal biases to influence the way the work is going, and that you're trying to do what is best, and I think that's good. But recognizing transparency is part of your function to the degree you can provide it. And then the third one is how effective are you at your work? And the reports that we get are very good at demonstrating that you are very effective at what you do. Some of the ideas mentioned by other folks are good examples of some of the effectiveness that you've done. And a point that you brought up about are you the complaint department for the police? And to some degree, well, yeah, that's exactly what you are, is you're the complaint department. But on another sense, you're also not just the general complaint department. I think you talked about it in terms of macro versus micro. You're not the complaint department for every, well, they didn't come when I called. That's not what the auditor's office is about. But you did raise the important point of, well, where do you go with those kinds of issues? And I think people go to you because they don't know where else to go. And so it's incumbent on us to figure out how do we support you in terms of not making that part of your job. So you are the complaint department, but you're not every single little complaint. You're the big complaints, the ones that really count. And I think you're very good at recognizing what is and what isn't part of that function. And I think that is why these are all interconnected factors. Their confidence in your work is based on your transparency and your effectiveness. And so I think you're trying to juggle all three of those balls without any of them hitting you in the head. And I think you've done a really good job, which is why I ranked you excellent.
Eddie?
Thank you. I got the last word.
You do?
But I always feel that I don't know enough about this, even when I was meeting with you regularly, because what I would like to know is what the people who have complained, how satisfied they are. And that I still don't know. I've heard some things, I have heard, and I don't know if this has changed or not. I've heard that the office is locked. People can't get in. It's not true.
No, just if we're not there. No, it's, we have a rather intricate electrical system that allows for that. So no, that was changed, and now we have another staff person. That was changed about 10 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, we had to go through the
People
process.
remember other things, but okay, that's good. I agree with Alan on one thing and disagree on another. Controversy, I think, is fine. And I think if the CRB has controversy, that they all deserve to express their opinions, regardless of what they are. About the outreach, and I put that on my form, I think it would be good if you could go to every neighborhood organization, not every time, but at least once, and have it advertised ahead of time that you'll be there, so that people would know that they could come and ask you questions about what you do and what you don't do. As for the things that aren't within your scope, you could suggest that they see the police chief, and maybe that's something we should work for, to have the chief available at some point for answering questions about policies. Maybe we should have a special meeting for that. As far as I think you were very fortunate that we had two good auditors before you, and the police department got accustomed to having an auditor without. I think it was very difficult for the first two, especially because they were female, and it's always more difficult for a woman to go into a job that people think should be masculine. But I do hope that you will try to get to neighborhood meetings.
Actually, we're getting some scheduled now, and Beatrice has been
Okay.
very forward about doing that. So,
Thank you.
we'll be out there.
And I took almost all my 3 minutes. I usually don't.
Good job. A couple comments I wanted to make is I think those issues that you brought up, the changes you would like to have take place in the ordinance and so forth, I just think you should work with your officers on those, and if they think those are worth moving forward, I think they can do that. So I suggest that. I also wanted to say that we get those same complaints, just telling you.
I know. I don't
lot.
tell them to call you guys, though.
Oh, yeah,
I promise you
and
that.
we get told as,
You should just tell them to call the mayor.
well, they do.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Last week at a neighborhood meeting, it was kind of like, well, every time something happens, they say, go tell it, it's the council's fault, go tell them and complain. So that's a burden we all share. And I wanted to say that a comment that I heard was that some of the people who are the strongest advocates and legal spokespeople for some of the folks in the transparency and protection of people's rights in our community. I very much said to Mark that he slowed down their business a lot because he's done such a good job. And I just wanted to that's a kind of a joke, but it's really true that he has created a place for people's voices to be heard and issues to be dealt with. It really helps everybody do better. And he's been coming with me to the one-on-ones in every ward so that he can meet with people to hear from the different parts of the community as well, and I appreciate that too. You want to put a motion out?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
What a real quick,
Yes.
I just want to, it's my last time
Yep.
to have this discussion with you, and when I came here in 2009, I was very impressed with our mayor, and I remain very impressed with our mayor, so thank you.
I move the council approve an amendment to the police auditor's contract that, one, awards him the same COLA of 2.1% that other non-represented employees receive, effective at the same time as other non-represented employees, i.e. July 1, 2016. Two, in lieu of any additional increase in salary, that the auditor receive a one-time payment for fiscal year 2017 equal to 1.5% of annual salary payable as soon as practicable, and an additional one-time payment for FY18 equal to 1.5% of annual salary payable on or around July 1st, 2017. And three, conforms section 6.3 of the contract related to deferred compensation to the same benefit received by other non-represented employees. The council president is authorized to execute a contract amendment consistent with this motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Yes.
That means that's more money than the COLA, right?
Yes.
Extra money. I think regardless of who it is or what, I think that we're already paying enough.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know whether that was drafted by the city
Yes.
attorney.
The city attorney.
Would you characterize this as bringing Mark concurrent with the way we deal with other similar employees of the city?
There's kind of three parts to it. The first part with the 2.1% COLA, yes, that's the same that was provided to the non-reps. The subsection 3, which is relates to the deferred comp, clarifies that is exactly the same as for non-reps. The second piece, and I can let Carrie speak to this, but that's the piece that's different, and it's the one-time payment of the 1.5%, but you can speak to that. But that is the part that's the above piece.
So the other two are bringing him essentially an equal
Yes,
treatment to all of
absolutely.
our other employees. Can you characterize the other piece for me?
Yeah, the other piece, so Auditor Gissner is at the top step of his salary range, so the only increase he would see would be the COLA, and so similar to other non-reps, they would not move up other than a COLA, and so this is just
So it's
an
our
additional
ability to
1.5%.
treat him as though we would with a step increase for another employee who was not at the top.
No, not completely, no, because step increases, usually the difference is a 4.5% range if you go from step 5 to 6.
Right.
So this is really a 1.5% one-time payment, so it would not increase his salary range going forward. It just
So
one-time
it
payment.
is equivalent.
So it is different.
It is equivalent to a minor portion of a step increase.
Correct.
the way that we, Counselor, the way that Counselors Link and I negotiated this with the police auditor was as a bonus for a excellent job done in a way that we could reward him, not an exorbitant amount of compensation, but for, the next 2 fiscal years to give him that little bump in pay.
Thank you, sir. May I just say that I'm absolutely in favor of the idea and I'll vote for it. But what I wanted to do is make sure that since newspaper folks are here and there are a lot of folks watching, they could help. This would help easily have them understand what it is that we're doing. We're bringing you in line with other employees, and we're giving you a little bit of a fraction of a step increase because you do such an excellent job, and we're happy you're here. And I'm happy to vote for that.
Alan?
Yeah, as Greg said, this is something that we negotiated with the police auditor. Embedded in this is also that it's a 2-year contract, so that we don't have to come back and do this again. So that's why it's structured so that it is wanted to get about a 5% increase in as a signification of the excellent job that the police auditor has done, and we had to structure it so that it did the COLA plus 1.5, and then a year later does another 1.5. It's not exactly the same as 5%, but that's the way we structured it. And it also doesn't increase the base salary. It works as more like a bonus than it does an increase in base salary, which then gets COLA. So the 2019, the COLA would be based on the existing salary base. So it's more akin to a bonus than it is a jump in step.
Okay, ready to vote? All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In opposition, 1. It passes. Thank you. And thank you, Mark, very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Harry, do you want these back?
Sure, yeah.
We're going to quickly move over into the City Hall project update. Fast as we can. Down. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. And as we get started, I just wanted to reiterate a little bit from the JEO meeting as a question came up, that it is our intent to provide council with the information you need to make decisions. And about City Hall, and Mike, your request was an example of that. And also, I want to just continue to reiterate kind of the scope of various options or various things that are going on. As you know, our staff is working on the rebid option, which is what we're providing some additional information for you today around that. And we don't have an expectation that you'll necessarily make decisions today, but we're providing some additional information. As you know, Cameron McCarthy is reviewing 2 phase 1 options. One is on the current City Hall block, and the other is at the Butterfly lot. They are also reviewing phase 2 options within the 3-block area as part of that scope of work. And what I also want to say, though, is that I've asked staff to also look at some additional phase 2 options as we continue to look at those 2 phase 1. So, for example, if it turns out that we want to put phase 1 still on the current existing City Hall in a wraparound kind of configuration, phase 2 may actually want to go onto that parking lot across the street that we have. So we need to start taking a look at that. We also occupy any numbers of spaces downtown. That's in the Woolworth building, the Atrium building, the Wells Fargo building, and others. And so I've also asked staff to take a look at phase 2 options that are outside that 3-block area. So I just want to let you know we'll provide all that information back to you. We'll be scheduling another work session in October to review additional information that we've received any information that you have from the JEOs that you want to talk about. If you want to also ask additional questions to make sure we have all that information for you. So I just wanted to let you know that we are providing all that information. We're looking beyond just the scope that Cameron McCarthy is providing, and we'll give you all that information for your decision in November. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So as John said, I'm going to focus on the cost reduction strategies that we've looked at in support of the rebid option. Beth is passing out some information. This is a portion of a memo that Raul Brokaw has prepared for us, just as a summary of the ongoing process. There's a lot of detail in there. I don't expect you to try to digest it or respond to it. Just giving it to you as being illustrative of the process that we're going through. And so I'm going to give you a brief overview of that. And then I think the best thing to do is just let you ask any clarifying questions and then comment as you so desire. As I mentioned in the agenda item summary, we started with sort of a brain dump of all the ideas that might make sense in the sort of no dumb ideas phase, just getting everything down. Did an initial review of that and then culled it down to this current list of about 110 items or so for further review and analysis. And those kind of fall into four main areas: site improvements, building envelope and structure, mechanical and electrical system, and interiors. And as we went through this colored list on the three-page list, goes through the items in according to those categories. And they've fallen into sort of three sort of outcomes at this point. Everything marked in red are as things that don't make a lot of sense to pursue further because they either didn't result in much cost savings, that was the main reason, or they were so far from our project values that we've worked with you on that they didn't seem to be worth pursuing. The items in green are things that resulted out of feedback from bidders, resulted in our review of the documents, and those are things that just make sense that we would want to do regardless. They don't really make any reduction in the values or the quality of the project. It's just feedback we got, things that make sense. A few of those are also bid alternates that we will identify to give us some flexibility if we get to the point of rebidding, so that when we put it together, guaranteed maximum price, particularly with some unknowns around the east half of the site and even the north half of the site, we could put together in different ways. For example, draw a box around the north parking lot, identify that as a bid alternate, and then at that time we can decide whether to choose it or not, depending on what you've decided in the context of other things with the county and the farmers market and so on. The items in blue are things that we think will result in some additional cost savings, but need some analysis and design work to bear out. And then there's a couple of things that are in a dark gray that might be worth looking at if we had more time, but don't really fit into the schedule to try to rebid by February. And then there's just a sort of a sketch schedule in here as well that the green line is sort of moving forward with the things that we consider sort of no-brainers that we'd want to do in order to hit a rebid date of February. The blue ones, again, are things that need more analysis, and then the things in gray don't have a time to pursue. And so the good news about all the things in the blue, even though they require some more analysis and design work, they have a good return on investment. They seem to all fall in the range of a minimum of $4 to $5 for every dollar we put in on design and analysis. We expect to get 4 to 5 back all the way up to 10 to 1 return on investment. So most of those are things that we would propose to continue to do some analysis on and bring back to you in November for a full package of final decision making. The couple that I'd like for you to think about that have more policy implications as we move forward are looking at the south facade, the double skin south facade. As you recall, that was added toward the end of schematic design and presented as a way to sort of symbolically enhance the welcoming and transparent aspect of the building. Well, subsequently, we've done quite a bit of design work on the interior face and feel that with some design revisions that glass face on the outside could come off, and we still think that we could provide a very aesthetically pleasing and welcoming, transparent south facade. The upper canopy, as a result, can drop some because it no longer needs to vent. There's some ripple effects that we'll study and look at, but it doesn't appear to significantly affect the performance of the building, and we think that it will still be pleasing. And as sometimes is the case when you're forced to look at some things, it might actually look better by the time we're done. It got a little complicated with the double skin and the catwalks that are required for access and the shading and so on. So that's one of the things we'd like to explore and come back to you. Then the other thing I wanted to focus on was mechanical system. We looked at mechanical system options because with our ground source heat pump, that's, as we discussed before, is the most energy efficient and longest lasting solution moving forward. It's also rather expensive. And so we looked at a number of different options, all the way from a conventional boiler and chiller system to a variable refrigerant flow system. And I won't get into all the technical details, but the conventional systems don't give us anywhere near the energy efficiency that we would expect. We don't recommend going that direction. The VRF system doesn't give the longevity and the some of the values around maintenance and indoor air quality and environmental quality and so on, even though it's a pretty energy efficient solution. Plus, it would require a complete redesign of the mechanical system, and we're not recommending that. So the only thing that sort of pans out for more analysis on that is switching from the ground source heat pump to what's called an air-to-air heat pump. It's sort of a industrial or commercial version of the heat pump you might have at home, but operates in a wider temperature range. And so it's really changing the source of the heating and cooling. We'll still deliver it in the same ways through radiant slabs, through chilled beams and displacement ventilation system. So again, not to get into a whole bunch of technical data, it's just changing the source of the generation of the heating and cooling. We would distribute it the same way. The big difference is our ground source heat pump is estimated at about a 43% energy efficiency better than code. The air source would be in the 25 to 30% range, we think, which is still a significant gain in energy efficiency. Still keeps us eligible for a Oregon Department of Energy grant that we believe we're in the running for and in very good shape for at about $200,000. And so we wouldn't want to go below 26% better than code because that's the cutoff for the Oregon Department of Energy grant. So, and I will send all this to you by email, and then there's some additional technical stuff if you want to get into it further. I don't think it's necessary or a great use of your time, but by all means, you're welcome to do it if you want to and ask clarifying questions later. But for the time being, and then the agenda item summary also listed 3 questions that sort of provide an overview for the discussion, and that is, do you want us to go ahead and continue to developing the rebid option with the things in green that are sort of the no-brainer kinds of things, I would describe them. Secondly, do you want us to continue forward with the rebid option that looks at the south facade and does the analysis on what that would look like and the effect on performance? And then do you want us to continue with the rebid option that would look at
this air-to-air mechanical system and some adjustment to the energy efficient goals. Those are sort of the high-level things, and I think at this point I'd just like to turn it over for any clarifying questions and discussion on this at this point.
Appreciate all the work that's been done. I guess I will start out by saying that, at least as you explain it, changing the glass facade seems reasonable to me. And my biggest, the pump thing, I'm going to need to look at that more. For me, I just want us to, and I think you're doing that as I listen to you talk, it's just important to me that we're aiming with our CRO in a certain direction, and we have to do some things to make that happen. So we don't want to do something with this that doesn't help us get in that direction. So I think it's a really important thing, and this council has voted over and over again to keep going in this direction. So I think it's really important that we not give up on things that are really important in energy usage and that kind of thing. So I appreciate the work that's been done on that. I'll look around and see. Yes, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation would be to go ahead and pursue the things in green, the no-brainers, I agree. But I would also be interested in having more information about the blue stuff, just to have a frame of reference, to know what more information we have. Because as we go into a rebid situation, I would want to know what our opportunities were, what kind of opportunities there might be. So the green for sure, and I would continue to explore the blue. I don't think unless it creates an enormous amount of additional work for you, having the information I think would be valuable.
Yeah, and that's the intent was we would come back with more information in November for final decision making.
Perfect.
Alan?
So we just got this massive amount of information 5 seconds ago. So what is the process that we're looking for? We're not making decisions today. We're just getting this information, and then we can call Mike and ask him detailed questions if we don't know what the heck some of these things mean, because they're kind of written in a little bit of hieroglyphics. But okay, I kind of where the mayor and Chris are, which is that the no-brainer stuff, a lot of it seems cosmetic. Some of it is just changing the way that we're doing things a little bit. I tend to want to have the calculations that we look at in terms of cost effectiveness to be at life cycle cost analysis. So when we talk about a reducing cost from a geothermal to an air source heat pump and cutting the efficiency gain in half, over the long term, I think that's probably not the wise choice to make. So I tend to want to have the installation of buildings and the equipment we put in be as energy efficient as we possibly can get it, because over time, that's going to pay off. So before we do any changes like that, I'd like to see a life cycle cost analysis of it, which might be beyond the scope of what you're trying to do here. You haven't already done that?
If we just have preliminary costing and energy calculations, that's the one that we might take a little further to in order to generate more information. And so yeah, we would look at the initial cost. The energy savings would translate into ongoing operation cost, and then the life of the equipment as well. So essentially it would be what you're looking, the information that you would need to make that decision.
Right, yeah. Geothermal is underground, buried. It's kind of put it in there and forget about it for 30, 40 years.
Or more, yes.
Or longer, right. Yeah, I guess I'll just have to look at some of this stuff in more detail to get at. So the stuff that's red, just to be clear, either didn't make any sense to pursue because it didn't save any money, or it resulted in a cost increase, so it got dropped from the efforts to reduce the cost.
Right. Yeah, or it reduced the quality in a way that was unacceptable. There were some things like looking at tile in the restrooms, and it was so nitpicky that it wasn't even worth pursuing, and it would have made a less pleasing experience for the public to come use the building. So things like that, and we've already processed most of this over the course of the design to try to dial it into the project values and meet the needs and so on. But we got some good feedback during the bidding process as well, and some things that we could do. I gave some examples in the agenda item summary, changing the spec on some of the glass, and some simplifications like that just help with the overall value of the building.
And the greens represent $350,000 to $500,000 in savings, and more if we went into some of the option 2 blue stuff. Right?
Correct.
One last question related to the Cameron McCarthy. It came up last night at the neighborhood meeting at Fairmont Neighbors about how Cameron McCarthy was actually hired and whether or not it was done within the context of the ORS rules, and because apparently it wasn't an open bidding process, that some people didn't hear about it. So how is that process handled? I wasn't involved in doing that. So
I don't know the specifics of that. We'd be happy to send you a note on how that process went, and I'll get the right people to give you that
I'm sure
information.
you follow all the rules, but
The short answer is yes. So.
Yeah, we follow the rules. We did not do an RFP, for example, and we can get you the actual process for that.
were they already hired to do work, so they just amended their scope?
No, the state purchasing rules allow direct award up to $100,000, and this contract was well under that. So it didn't require an RFP process.
Especially given the time frame.
Correct.
Yes, that's what I would remind you of, is you needed somebody who had a lot of experience and would be able to pull that off in a short period of time. We asked them to do it.
And we wanted to start right away, too.
Right.
And in that regard, there was an informal interview process to make sure that we had a meeting of the minds and that they could meet the requirements of the project and all that sort of thing.
I would appreciate the follow-up, though. Thank you.
Yes, George?
I'm looking on page 2, and it says, I agree with Councilor Slanka. First of all, it would have been really helpful to get this information last Thursday in our packet. But it is what it is. It's better to have more time to study these things, because I'm sure we'll probably all have some follow-up questions maybe. But, okay, so I see on page 3, option 1, clarify, simplify, rebid, potential savings is $350,000 to $500,000. And then that seems pretty straightforward. And then option 2, scope and performance reductions, $1.5 million to $2 million. I'm just the kind of person that kind of likes to see some like rough breakdowns of, because maybe it's not really necessary, but I just, if that's possible, and then someone had to come up with this figure at a later meeting, or maybe email, if we could just get like, what adds up to $2 million? Like the 4 things that they are mentioned here. I'm just wondering how much each one of those would be roughly. And I would just like to, that's all I have to say really until I study this more, but I just have a, remind counselors that, gosh, a year and a half ago or close to 2 years ago, something like that, we voted to increase the original $15 million budget to 17.8 by adding an empty shelled 4th floor and taking that money from Public Works over a period of 4 years, I believe. So that's something we might want to look at again, especially since Cameron McCarthy's kind of looking at building massing and taking another overview of the whole development, and perhaps coordinating with the county on the construction of a civic center. We may want to rethink that portion. Maybe we don't need an empty shelled 4th floor on this, the Council on city manager part of City Hall. I'd just like to throw that out there. That would shave off about another close to $3 million.
You'd have to redesign the entire building if you did that.
Yeah, that was a point I was going to make. There's no way that we'll make the schedule to try to rebid in February if we do design work of that major quality.
So you're saying it makes better sense to have an empty fourth floor that we don't even know what's going to go in there? I kind of find that okay, well, I'm just throwing that out there. I never understood that logic to begin with. Thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, I appreciate the effort around the cost reductions, but I have a different question, and that is, when are we going to get the analysis around how we're going to pay for this, the full analysis? Because I think that, we have identified some monies to pay for what we talked about originally and the up to 17 million. But as we came back after our kind of 9-month period of time without having, a reporting process about this progress, and then we get a much higher price tag, we have yet to identify and fully vet what resources would be dedicated to a costlier city hall. So I'm anxious to find out when we're going to get the other half of the story.
Well, as you know, the way it worked out was prior to the last cost estimate, we did have a fully vetted out cost budget for that and how to pay for that. When the bid came back, what the council chose to do is to pause or stop that or reject the bids, and therefore there was no need to have a fully vetted out budget for the additional cost because there was no additional cost to vet out. So what would happen in this case is, as we would go towards a bid process, if you choose to bid it out, once again, as we get a final cost estimate, along with that cost estimate would be a proposed way to pay for that. Council would have to say, yes, that's how we would choose to pay for that if the bid came in. And then when the bid actually came in, whatever that price would be, the council would have to actually appropriate dollars before we can move forward on a contract.
I'm aware of that, John, but I'm also concerned about, before we appropriate dollars, that we identify where those dollars are going to come from. And one of the problems and one of the causing me angst around this is that when we had the presentation before, which, had other options for funding that were not exactly sound or secure. So, it's pick money from here, fundraising here, this and that and the other thing. I want to have a really firm idea of, how we're going to pay for this.
Yes, before the council would appropriate dollars, you would actually appropriate specific dollars out of specific funds. And so it would either, if it were general fund, you would appropriate general fund. If it were a financing tool, you would have to appropriate where the debt payment would come from. If we use telecom monies, you would be appropriating out of telecom monies a specific amount. So when you appropriate, you will appropriate out of specific funds in specific dollar amounts.
I just would want to get a general idea of what direction you're heading in terms of those specific funds.
And we would provide that as we come back with a final cost estimate. We would provide you with that, a recommendation on how to fund that.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Michael, thank you very much for the work and for the report, and everyone who's working on this for all the diligence on the efforts. Greatly appreciate it. I'm interested to know, as we're not taking a vote on this, with the 3 questions that you're presenting in the AIS, since we're not voting, you're not actually considering that council direction, are you?
Well, sort of expedite the process, perhaps the best way to put it was, I will assume yes unless you tell me otherwise, because I'm updating you right in the middle of the process, and these are all the things that we're working on, and these are the things that we'll continue to analyze and then come back to you in November for a yes or no.
As a process comment, then I will say that I think that one of the lessons of the City Hall process or these last few years is clear direction from council is necessary for us to do well. And I would suggest that we should be voting on continued direction when there's check-in, so that you know without question that you're acting on the authority of council to do those things. Now, I've been at this a while, so I can count votes. I bet it'd pass if you put all three of these there. But in a comment that I'm sure will shock absolutely no one, if I was asked to vote on these, my vote would be no. Thank you.
So, what I actually think about this, listening to George and listening to Mike and appreciating the position you're in, I just think, and Alan too, is people should have a chance to digest this and then respond on these questions. So I'm just going to ask the city manager that I think what we should do is create some time for people to look at what they got today, ask any questions that they have, and then we can come back and get a solid answer for you that you can, so to speak, take to the bank. And I think that will make everybody
Vote soon.
vote happier.
We can do that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yep. All right, George.
Thanks, Mayor. Well, I think perhaps, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think part of what Councilor Evans was trying to get at is basically, seeing a budget. The last budget that council approved by formal vote was the budget adding the fourth floor. We saw one other very kind of superficial budget sketch, but we never took formal vote on any other budget than the budget adding the fourth floor, not the one adding the $7 million, and then we've heard it's gone up $2 million since then. So I feel that, I hear this from the community when I'm out and about. People don't know where we're at money-wise with this project, and frankly, I have to admit I'm not sure where we are either. And so, we're obviously going to have to approve some kind of a budget for it but I don't know where we're at, and I think we need to see a budget for it.
I guess what I'm struggling with is we can make an estimate of what the cost will be for a rebid. So we got the actual bids back for the first go around. You rejected those bids, so that's off the table, so there's no budget needed for that. So as we go through this value engineering, there will be a point in which we will provide an estimate of the cost based on some of the decisions that you make on this chart here. When we know that, then we can come back with what the estimate of that cost is. And at that point, you can approve that budget for that. When we go out for bid, if you choose to go out for bid, when that comes back, then you would appropriate the dollars if you choose to move forward with that. So I'm trying to understand, if you're wanting to approve a budget prior to us going back and doing the work on the value engineering, because we wouldn't know we wouldn't have any new information to provide you because we don't know what that estimate is yet, other than some general estimates, and we can do that. I'm just trying to get a sense of what you're looking for.
Well, I'm kind of at sea here in a way, because, like I say, the last budget that we actually formally approved was the budget adding the fourth floor, and that was a year and a half ago. We've seen other budgetary information, but we never really approved it. So I suppose the way forward is to, as you suggest, because I can't see any other way forward, but I'm just, I guess, expressing trying to express the frustration and puzzlement that a lot of people that live, a lot of our constituents have been voicing to me about this whole project. Thanks.
So we have about 4 minutes left here, and I've got 3 people who want to speak.
Move to
so-
extend 10.
I have a meeting at 1:30.
Okay, so if you can express yourself with great rapidity, that would be great. Mike,
I'm
and
the
then
one who
Greg, and
hasn't
then Betty.
spoken yet. I'm the one who hasn't spoken yet.
She's first.
Okay,
I should be first. Thank you.
you're welcome.
And I'm fast. I think we should not sacrifice any energy efficiency. One of the arguments for tearing down what I think was a big mistake, tearing down the city hall we had, was that it didn't have energy efficiency. So that we should not sacrifice that in any way. The glass facade is fine with me as far as I know, and I agree with the people who said it would have been nice to see this a little sooner. Thank you.
I think the council needs to make a clear statement because we have 2 parallel processes taking place right now. I hear it all the time when they did eWeb's new facility, came in at 100 million or whatever, and they said, nope, 72, that's it. That's all you get. Tell us what you can do for that much money. That's I think what George is saying. That's how a lot of people expect that we're doing this process, is that we set a budget and we're going to deliver a thing based to that budget. But that's not what we're doing. We're setting a series of values and saying, what will it cost to deliver those, and what are some of the options? I think the council ought to be clear in its direction to you about which process we're actually asking you to follow so that you can help us make a decision the way we expect it.
That would be helpful.
Hey, Greg, wrap it up.
And I don't mean to be facetious, but I think what people are saying to me in the community is, show me the money. Where are we going to get these dollars from in the budget? Identify those sources and clarify what those lines are, whether that's telecommunications money, whether we're pulling money from, Public Works, how much of the general fund is going to go there, and what are the trade-offs for spending those dollars. What will we not be doing? What will we not be paying for? And what will we be deferring to pay for? Because we're, investing more resources in this project.
So, final comment. I think the manager's tried to tell you how he looks at it. You said how you look at it. If there are specific discussions you want to have, the best way to do that is ask for a work session and see who wants to work on it. And in my view, if you've got a specific thing that you want to have discussed, say, I want to do that discussion, see if the council wants to have that discussion, we can have it. Thank you all very much.